Welcome to our webinar today. I'm Martine Collier, the Executive Director of the Arts Council of Hillsborough County. We're so happy to have you here with us today. We have a good attendance and we hope that we all learn a lot. I want to introduce Eileen Blake, who is our Communications and Strategic Initiatives Coordinator at the Arts Council, who will be helping in this presentation today. And I'm very pleased to introduce our primary presenter for this program, Karen Eber Davis. The Arts Council has spent a lot of time with Karen over the past year and a half. We did a needs assessment with her, and then we did a full-fledged strategic plan. So she is very familiar with our goals and objectives because of this process. And I think she will be very helpful in helping all of you align what you're doing with some of the same outcomes that we're seeking to achieve. So without further ado, welcome, Karen. It's great to have you back again.
Great to be with you, Martine and Eileen. I'm going to have a slideshow, surprise. So let me technical. Down just a second. Is where it gets interesting. I feel like it's a bit like driving a plane. Let me do share. The moment of truth. Yeah, while we're talking, I'm getting ready. Eileen is going to put in, there was a homework piece. Okay, do share. I rehearsed this, but it's not going as planned, obviously. There we go. All right. And this is actually, we were looking ahead of what we're talking about later. This is quick rehearsal. Okay. So I'd like you to go ahead and find the chat box and write down any new connections you've had created during COVID. We'll be talking a lot about partnerships and connections and collaborations today. So what have you done during COVID that was new that maybe you didn't do before? There is the chat box. I think it's at the bottom of your screen, Eileen, is that bottom for them? Because it changes when you're the presenter.
Yes, it should be at the bottom for you guys to see it.
And Eileen also put in the actual handout for this. If you can't print it out, that's okay. You can hand draw it. You won't be needing that for a little bit.
Karen, I can see a couple folks raising their hands. Okay. I'm not seeing messages in the chat, but perhaps they want to talk.
Okay, so, well, sure, they're using the question and answer. I have connected with local filmmakers and festivals. Actually, you're seeing that too.
Oh, it says they're having a problem using the chat.
Yvonne, I do see you.
I'm trying to edit that now. Somebody.
Okay, so let's use question and answers. Thank you, Louise, for being resourceful and moving right on it.
Okay, the chat is working now.
Okay, we can go back to chat.
Sorry, everyone.
We're all learning to do Zoom on the fly. I have a couple innovations with Zoom today too, so we'll be experimental. We'll be learning more. Eileen's got the handout for you in chat. No new connections, folks? One of the things I've been able to do and realize is that I can work with clients near and far, Zoom or not, but I'm really curious about how tall or short they are. I've not seen them stand up like you do in a regular meeting. Linda, thank you. She's partnering with 2 private schools for space and also with another classical group to produce an opera. Okay. Well, let's move on then. We'll be thinking of some new partnerships today as we go. So it's a good conversation for this group. Good grief. All right, so this is our title. And this came about, we started talking back in January about what was needed. And at that point, it was really questionable what was going to happen with COVID, whether we'd be out. And even though we're still uncertain, it begins more and more than it did in January to look like we will have some regular programming. I spoke to someone recently and they're working with National Camp Program and they're planning to have summer camps. So we're on the way anyway. The goals of this session, and here's the things we'll be doing: exploring a crisis planning framework, gaining insight into the Arts Council's new strategy, brainstorming unexplored partners, and making a partner choice to pursue. And I'll tell you why you'll need that as we go along. But first, I want to share this crisis planning framework. This framework that I learned came from a conversation I had with the CEO of a capacity building group in New York City, when we talked about how frequently nonprofits got themselves into crisis. So this, what I'm going to share, is something that will work for your organization, whether it's COVID or something else that's going on. And we brainstormed this as part of a book I was writing, and it was called Let's Raise Nonprofit Millions Together. But the concept was, how do you get out of being in the same place? How do you move forward when you have this continual challenge? And the idea here is to create a plan for both. So you have a team A and a team B. The team A is dealing with the current crisis. The team B is dealing with where you want to go. So it's going to be difficult for the leader of that because they have two teams they're managing, but you do have a plan that gets you out of the current crisis. So in terms of COVID, the concept is to have we're going to be normal and have regular programming after whatever date you have in your head, or we're going to have COVID restrictions still. What would that look like? And having dual plans for that. Now, this is what it might look like. You're the leader of this and you have a team of dealing with the crisis and you're having a team deal with the normal. It's a little bit like you have a fire alarm in the building. You may never need that crisis team, but if you have that going. So with this concept, how many of you in the chat would write down 1 if you think you would do this right now so you have a ready team going? 2 is something you consider, or 3, it's an interesting idea, you'll file it because someday you might need it. So you go in the chat and type 1, 2, or 3. Is that is this working? If it's not working for you, are we still in the Q&A? I'm wondering.
Oh, people are responding, and a couple of people responded in the chat. There aren't any new Q&A responses yet.
Okay, good. Thanks, Eileen. So I see a 1. I see Linda says do it, and Yvonne says 2. Okay, great. Give you another second. 1, 2, or 3. This is an interactive webinar, by the way, folks. What else? So continuing that concept, if it's something that you would consider doing, who would you put on that get out of crisis long team term? What kind of people would you put on that? Curious about the titles of people you would consider. And with COVID and what we've learned with Zoom, this team could meet anywhere. So it could be a virtual team. So that could expand your possibilities.
Karen, I think we might actually still be having some chat related problems. Jim Russell just let us know that he's been answering the chat, but we are apparently not seeing it.
No, I'm not seeing any of it here. So do you want to try to go back over to Q&A?
What do you think would be best, Karen. I don't know.
Can we see people? Can we go to the screen where we see who's here and they can raise their hands and they can get to chat?
Yes. I mean, the participants list.
Okay, yeah, raise your hands if you can work the chat. That will be.
Okay. Looks like I'm going to try and allow somebody to.
I'm seeing a lot of people saying, yes, it's working. Okay. So Linda, thank you again. My board members, she would invite principals of the schools, teachers that worked for me. Yvonne says her club's already split to those who can do virtual and those who can't.
It looks like there are a couple people who've raised their hands. Karen, I'll try to allow them to talk.
Okay.
This is Louise. We're trying to allow you to talk.
Okay. Do you still want us to use the Q&A or do you want us to keep trying the chat?
Does the chat work for you?
I was able to send.
Kara says her chat's still disabled.
Oh, okay. I was able to send.
It looks like some people can and some people can't. So for now, let's just use Q&A.
Okay.
Okay. So.
And also, if you cannot, Mylene, can you give them your text number so they can text you and say, I can't get in, so we can find out what's going on? Nora says she can type. So Nora, I can see you, Nora, Ronnie, anonymous attendee. I can see you, Kara, Jim Russell, Yvonne, Angela, Louise, Cindy. I can see you in Q&A. So let's use Q&A.
Yeah, let's use Q&A because the problem, Karen, is I mean, I don't know how to fix the fact that I can't see their chats. So.
Okay. So we're going to use some Q&A, folks. This is creating on the edge. This is being creative. Okay. So Louise says, I have people in my crisis and normal for future. They are problem solvers who like a challenge and are positive. Excellent choice. I'd also encourage you to consider former board chairs. It could be former executive directors. It could be former staff members, people who care about you. It could be anyone who's strong. I think Louise, the idea of being, problem solving, focused on solutions and creative would be real helpful. So we're going to switch from this topic. I wanted to share this because if you're in a crisis, it's so important to say, how do we not be here again? How can we move forward? And COVID may be the crisis, or it may be something else. But it seems that we're always in need of that skill. And just a thought for the back of your mind. Okay. So this is about moving back towards the new work that we're doing with the Hillsborough Arts Council and the focus on accessibility. Do you want to say a bit more about that, Martine?
Yes, that is the primary focus of our new strategic plan, but there is quite a bit in it about partnerships and different things that we're trying to do. This will inform our grant processes for this next year in terms that some of the grant application questions will change to be better aligned with the goals of the strategic plan. We also have a measurements framework, so we'll be utilizing that as well. So you may see a few differences in the grant application this year, but hopefully we're trying to provide you better ways to tell your story about how you are trying to achieve accessibility and some of the other goals that we have established for the community.
And accessibility was one of the main things when I did the plan with them that we heard a lot about, and the county commissioner who funds a good deal of the Arts Council was very interested in having every citizen have access to the arts. So if you're moving towards an accessibility focus as the Arts Council and part of the community, how would this benefit you? And that. Now my mouse is like, there we go. I'm seeing it's possibility of new audiences as well as new networks. And then by that I mean is when you step into someone else's relationships, you see everything that they can do and you'll see new possibilities. Revenue streams is definitely one of the areas I would look for as I moved to greater accessibility, and also basically recognition from the community. You will see in a lot of places, people who are working together getting really good recognition. I received in the mail this American for the Arts yesterday. It was so timely. I don't know if you guys got this too, if you're members. But on it, you can see, is actually it's a quilt of brown cover, and it's a public art project that was in Phoenix. Weavers, quilters, and knitters put together the textile, and they created blankets for the homeless. So it was a partnership that received national recognition. So here is a classic grant question that gets asked. This is actually one of the new questions from the Arts Council that will be for projects, and it's, which grant is it, Martine? You're going to say that name.
The Community Arts Impact Grant, because it is a project-based grant. There will be a similar question for the General Operating Support Grant, which is the Cultural Development Grant.
So even though there'll be different wording and different things that the question will focus on, the concept of asking and answering a question in almost any funding situation about your collaborations and partnerships is either being asked or it's useful to add in, because people want to know that you will be successful, and your success is based on people. And this is a pointer to people that you're involved with. So we're going to talk about like how you would answer this. And we're also going to be spending a lot of time like looking at how to brainstorm. How can we find new partners that increase our accessibility? So if you've answered a question like this before in a funding application, raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes, a lot of you have. Great. So this is familiar, and if you are answering it, then this will be how to help strengthen it. Thank you, everybody. So we have a poll now with all our technical hope that this will work about the kinds of collaborations and partnerships you're already doing. You can check all that apply. I'm heartened to see them working. Still seeing a few come in. We'll give it a couple more minutes, a couple more seconds. Is seeing any more? Is it still moving, or are we about done?
It looks like it's tapering off. I'll go ahead and end it now in just a second in case anybody has any last ones. Not seeing any, so I'll stop.
Okay. So a lot of, it looks like all these categories, you can scroll down. I guess you probably do. I see me scroll down. Others, don't put it in chat. You have to put it in the Q&A, question and answer. And that's Elm, local business owners as funders and marketing partners. Great. So I'd probably put that under local local businesses other than creative potentially, or creative businesses. So a lot of you, the most common one was education, and there's a number, local artists, arts organizations, other non-art, other nonprofits, And then it looks like it tapers off, individuals from outside the area. Very good, thank you. We can close that. So many of you are doing are already actively doing partnerships. One of the things that may need to happen for you is for you to be more vocal about how you're sharing those in part of your marketing message. People are curious about who you're connected to and how you work well with others. So I want to step back and share my definition of partnerships, and this could be collaborations, right? But the idea is that you get with someone else who is healthy, which means you have a good, positive relationship, and it should not be a painful relationship. There is an article in the resource section I'll be sharing later about what happens when you have difficult partners, because it does happen. And the idea is that each of you have gifts that you have to bring, and when you come together, you create something more than the whole, and you benefit yourselves both. So those are the words around that. I've also created this concept of a formula: healthy organization A with healthy organization B. You do a partnership, you get benefits for you, for them, and for the community at large. So partnerships, collaboration, connections, we use these words really interchangeably. I have created this triangle to show you that there's different levels of working together. The good news is that as you are on the top of the triangle, you will have a lot more of those relationships, and those are less work generally than as you move down the triangle. As you move down, they're more complex, they're more intense, there's greater risk usually, more time, and then there's fewer partners. The idea maybe is as you go down this, it's better benefits, but it's not sure. So the idea of a cooperation is the triangles. It's a bit like dating. Is the first to cooperate is like dating someone one time on a Saturday night. The concept is you get together, or even you might not even get together. You may go and look at that date and not check it out any farther. If you're on a blind date or using a dating program. And it's the idea that you figure out how to move together. So you might say, oh, you know what, this event is taking place this weekend. I will put mine next to it because it's comparable and works together, or I will avoid that weekend. So you cooperate whenever you say, oh, how can we work together to both maximize our event? And again, it's usually a one-time, short time, oh, let's cooperate, let's do this together. Oh, we found out we have to share the building. How can we do that? The next level is collaboration, I mean, coordination. This is more intentional. It's like dating someone for a little bit of time. The coordination is, we'll hold our event on the weekend so that you can market and share resources. So we'll both hold our events on that weekend. So it's coming together and saying, how can we do something together to benefit us both and benefit the community? You could do a discount coupon to attend either of your events. Those kinds of joint projects, joint marketing, joint things together. Sort of it's like yin and yang. You balance and coordinate together. The third level is collaborate. This is more involved. It's like long-term dating. And it's like, well, basically we could hold a board retreat together. We could do another program. The Los Angeles Museum and Arizona State have a new program they've been talking about. It's been hitting the news. You may have seen it, about helping people of color to become a part of the arts community by offering education and actually work experience. So really working on diversity inside of staffing of nonprofits. I think that's particularly its museums. That's the idea. It's a long-term program that they have long-term goals on. The key on this, really collaborate well, is you have to have differences. If you're both the same, collaborating doesn't make that much sense because you're not bringing too much new to the table. And finally, there's the concept of merging. Many nonprofits are looking at merging because of COVID as a new way to work. And that is the most advanced way to partner with somebody. It's fraught with challenges. It's a long-term process of getting into it. There are resources on my website about merging. I have not included them because that's not really the focus of this, but many people on the outside will think you should merge with someone just like you. who's another arts organization. Often that's more difficult than it looks like. But those are different ways to answer the grant question, different ways and things you might want to include when you talk about your partners in different levels. So I want to share some examples. We're going to share some examples now in the community of things we see that were interesting collaborations. And Eileen's going to share these because when we first talked about this, she had these ideas she wanted to share.
Hello, I pulled out just a couple of local examples that I thought were interesting collaborations that have taken place during the pandemic and were also very focused on diversity. So this is one of them. The Outcast Theater Collective and Stageworks got together and they did this really cool interactive theater project that talked about the topic of transphobia in medicine, which is obviously like a very important topic for communities to understand what's going on there. And then the next one, Karen, if you don't mind advancing this slide, was this cultural currency mural that is at the new Peninsularium project. This was done by a new collective of Black artists here locally called the New Roots Art Collective. And this was also a really cool example of community engagement. The new art space had other artists there, rappers and musicians, and kind of made it a block party for the neighborhood when they opened this up. So it was just a very good community engagement piece here as well.
It really increased the accessibility numbers too by doing a block party.
Yeah, I mean, and they were giving out free food, music. It was all very cool and very, and it was outside, so not a massive crowd, lots of space, pandemic-friendly way to engage the community while they unveiled this really cool new mural.
So great examples of local partnerships. I did pull one more up that I wanted to share that I thought they were just doing a really interesting job of collaborating. This is the Santa Cruz Museum of Art and History in California. In 2011, their numbers were 17,000, and they, with their new collaborations, went up to 95,000 in 9 years. There's the money that their revenue changed by, and then the number of events they did is pretty astounding. What's interesting about this is it looks like they are collaborating, and I read about it, but I was not able to reach anybody on staff, but they're looking at ways, things that are already going on in the community, and linking into them and bringing the museum out into the community. There is a short video. It's a 3-minute video. I want to see if I can share. This is new technique with you about one event they do. There we go. A little tricky. Aha, are you seeing a video? Yes, or you will be. This is their third Friday at the museum. I'm trying to pull this out of here, and let's see if I can get this to play. Yes.
As you wait in the street, plastic shoes on children's feet and candy girls. See the blind man cross the road. Traffic lights and dirty clothes, you watch the sun. You're on the run, and you're waiting there. And you don't care. And the weather fair to remain where. Picked a flower to watch it grow. Soil turns to silicone and hear the birds sing pretty songs. Metal cars and metal brains, and the sky is cellophane and washed up paint in traffic lanes. Do you wanna be under the changing leaves? Moving picture trees, electricity
see. So that is one example of it's just a Friday night event several years ago. But the concept, looking for my PowerPoint here, there we go. The concept is of how they reached out. And that may not work with you, but I was trying to show you an example of that. There's so many different ways to go when you look at who your partners could be. And the key question, if you're looking for new partners, looking for collaborations that allow you to help you access different people in the community, is to consider the question, who wins when you win? And this question actually is an excellent question to ask about sponsors. Different segue, different topic, but it is a key question. You're looking for people who win when you win. They don't have to have the same goals as you, but they do need to have, they might have different motivations, but they do want the benefit from the success you have. So, looking for unlikely bedfellows is a really interesting way to have creative programs that provide new possibilities, that catch the community's imagination, that also will reinvigorate your organization's work and bring new people in, and people will be excited to try something new. So this question leads me to, we're going to be doing some exercises together and inviting any of you who would like to talk about a project that you'd like some collaborative partners with, to share that project not in the chat, but in the Q&A. And if you're willing, we'll help you brainstorm as a group. This is an interactive session. Anyone want to have some input on possible partnerships?
Karen, it looks like we have one. Do you see this?
Is this Jim?
Yes, Jim has responded that they are starting a Feeder for All initiative.
Okay, Jim, do you want to tell us about that? Because people can't see your answer. Can you unmute him? Or
Yeah, just a second. I have to find him so that I can allow him to speak for a second. Jim, you should be able to speak now.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We have started a Theater for All initiative, which is based on a pretty well-known Museums for All program. And what we're doing is we're hoping to offer a limited number of free tickets to every single performance at our theater for recipients of Florida SNAP benefits. And my answer to your question was, we would love some ideas or brainstorming on who we could partner with to get that message to the people who could take advantage of it.
super. Thank you for that great example. And so folks in the Q&A, could you write your thoughts? Who could they partner with to get the message out? Okay, so Yvonne suggests the coalition, CHA, is that Coalition of Hispanic Artists? Or is this
I think she was asking for
this is another
partnership help,
project.
and
Okay.
then there are some responses below that,
Okay, what is Florida
like the
SNAP?
local
Jim?
colleges.
Go ahead, the question is, what is Florida SNAP? Marcia wants to know. So, and Jim, why don't you stay on with us and have this conversation? There's probably more questions.
Those are people who receive food stamps in Florida. And also potentially welfare recipients. So low-income families.
Okay. So what I have here is a place to put with other art groups, usual expected, and then other groups, not necessarily art groups, would be possibilities, and then unusual places. Okay, so Donna says reach out to Hillsborough Community Children's Service Board. Might be able to paste this. Other ideas? Martine and Eileen, feel free to contribute too.
Well, did you see this one that says the local colleges like HCC's theater department, WSF and WMNF, which is a radio station, Karen?
Okay, no, I'm just seeing those now. So yeah, maybe you need to read
Yeah.
those to me since I can't, yeah, too much for me to.
Okay, I'll help read some of these to you. For Jim's questions, there's also the university area CDC, churches, and Title I schools was a suggestion.
And you had said there was some radio station too. There was,
Yes, Louise also mentioned local colleges like HCC's theater department or the WUSF, WMNF, which are like local radio stations, public media basically. Somebody else is, I'll wait until you're written that one, sorry. Another suggestion is that he could partner with supermarkets, local growers, restaurants, universities, farmers markets.
okay, I'm gonna put some of these unusual because those are beginning to think outside the box. Farmers market.
But that is a really interesting example because some of the local farmers markets do offer food for SNAP benefits. So they might very well have customers who take advantage of that program.
They could easily give a handout back when someone uses a SNAP to pay for food.
Yes. There's a suggestion for the Boys and Girls Club if these performances are kid friendly. And then there's a broader suggestion here too, to direct the initiative toward the identified community to reach out to their community leaders who are already engaged in the work, especially community redevelopment area council members. So maybe finding those local community redevelopment areas, CRAs, and figuring out who's working within them.
I just unmuted long enough to say thank you so much, everyone.
Big brothers and big sisters are amazingly helpful is another suggestion from Nora.
Oh yeah, that would be very good because they're looking for things for their bigs to do.
Churches in the neighborhood of the theater. So I'm trying to make sure I haven't missed some of these. Sorry, I'm actually scrolling around a little bit here. I think we've captured most of the suggestions. Stepping stones in Prodigy is another suggestion that just came in.
What is Stepping Stone Prodigy? Do you know? Does anyone know?
Those are both local programs that work with youth in the area. I think particularly from like maybe Title I schools. I think Stepping Stones is an after-school program, and Prodigy does, I think, a variety of programs, including art programs.
Right. You good, Jim?
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. I have a lot of work to do now. Great stuff.
I
really appreciate it.
Went ahead and split them. I thought the Hillsborough County's Children's Service Board, who came to my mind immediately. This is just subjective of my thinking of who I have thought of. But it doesn't really matter where they sit. The idea is to capture all the possibilities.
Yes.
Okay, we had some other people who asked Eileen, can you?
There are still a couple more coming in.
Okay, Jimmy got more coming.
We have a couple more if we want to just note them before. I know that you wanted to move on here, but there's also Planned Parenthood or doctor's office and low income apartments, which is an interesting one.
Yeah, put that over here.
Meals for Wheels and Uber Eats have also been suggested. You guys have a lot of good ideas for helping identify.
You're gonna run out of tickets, but that's a good one. And some of those partners you'll find very useful and you'll continue, and others will not be like, it doesn't happen. But that's good that you have plenty of people to choose from. That was great, Jim. Great place to start us off. Okay. So Martine, were you able to look at the list and see who else has got? Who was interested in having some possibilities? They're all mixed up here.
I'm scrolling through, Karen, saying that who else needs some help with their partnerships.
I think I see one from Linda Martine about performing arts lessons that will serve everyone regardless of finances.
Yes, I see that. Looking for spaces in the 3-county area that make the most sense to serve as many folks as possible. There will also be a health component.
Okay, Linda, do you want to tell us about your project? What you're up to?
Give me just 1 second so that I can make sure you can speak.
This is
There we go.
Buying an airplane.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Linda.
I'm starting a nonprofit with some folks. There is a version of this in Orlando called Central Florida Community Arts, and I've been mentoring with their founder. And we want to have lessons that everyone can come to, no matter race, creed, color, transgender, you name it, disabilities, and have classes for people with disabilities like Parkinson's. I've taught many people, I'm a voice teacher, I've taught many people in wheelchairs, you name it. But what makes the Orlando area one work really well is that they have found spaces, and like for us, I have students in Hernando County, Pasco County, Hillsborough County, Pinellas County, occasionally Polk County. And those guys in Orlando have found spaces that have given them reduced rent or no rent. So, and they do a lot of their really big productions in mega churches. So again, trying to serve everyone. Wow, what a concept, right? So my contacts are really in Pinellas and Hillsborough. So looking for any ideas in the Pasco area. Hernando is maybe just a little bit far out of our reach, kind of not so much Tampa Bay. But anyway, I've started to look around, but I just don't know much about the Pasco area.
Okay, so we might not know specifics, but we can look for concepts of where you might.
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is for music, right? This is
Music, theater, dance, all kinds of classical arts training. It's performing arts.
Okay. So you need like rehearsal as well as performance places.
Yes, and we would have a mega choir. And again, we're trying to make this accessible. So some people would come to choir rehearsal in Tampa. Well, when somebody lives in Newport Richey, wouldn't want to drive to Tampa. So just looking for spots to serve everyone and then eventually have a big rehearsal. So spaces of all sizes that might welcome us.
Okay, so it looks like Nora's starting to answer that. Do you want to? She's saying in Tampa, Tampa Players has a space in the university area. It's a black box theater, but could be used for lessons. Please let me know if we can help. For Pasco, Arts in Motion. So she's suggesting other existing arts venues.
Awesome.
So that means it's a general category to go start looking for.
Awesome. Thank you.
Looks like there's one other suggestion here, Karen, to also talk to Stageworks to see if they know of any other existing venues. And Jim just commented that Carolwood Players has daytime space available in Tampa. So it looks like other arts organizations might be interested in partnering with you on this.
And we want to include everyone. No one will we turn away.
Good, and you might, as a partner, be looking too, what can you do for them? How can you help them?
Absolutely.
You know, how can what you do together, what's possible that increases their accessibility? How could you market together and enhance what they're doing too? So it's not a just getting, how can you give into that?
Absolutely.
There's one more suggestion that just came in, Karen, about local historic societies and small museums as an option. This person was a director of a historic house in New England and collaborated with community theater by providing them rehearsal space.
That's cool.
So local museums and historic societies too. And a suggestion for Idlewild Baptist Church or the Pinellas County Performing Arts Center.
Back to churches
Awesome.
and performing arts centers.
Also a comment that Tampa History Center has space. So it looks like history museums and existing arts venues.
This is awesome. Awesome, awesome.
You know, also consider, you know, I mean, then I'll pick on Tampa History Museum, but are they having an exhibit that has to do with music? Is there some way to tie in, you know, maybe in a museum there's a violin that's been used and you want to teach violin lessons or do a performance in
Absolutely.
front of the violin lessons.
And I have a great Holocaust musical. You know, now I'm thinking about the museum in St. Pete. Oh, you got my brains going, people.
That's the goal. Okay. Someone else would like to have another one of their ideas talked about? We have time for one more. Some of you wrote earlier.
There's not a new one. I think there was one more in here that I had seen.
And we have 46 questions or open questions right now, so it's a little tricky.
So there was one that came in earlier that says the Coalition of Hispanic Artists needs a place to present their art and they have space to offer.
Okay.
And somebody had suggested already that they get in touch with Stageworks, potentially share space, but I don't know if anybody else maybe has anything additional to add there.
Okay, so we talked about space. Well, going once, does anyone else have one they want to talk about now that you've heard some of the answers? FMM has an auditorium to offer them.
I think in exchange for space for displaying the work for the Coalition of Hispanic Artists, Yvonne is saying that there's also an auditorium that somebody else could use as sort of a swap here.
Okay, good. Swaps are good. One of the, looking at the Santa Cruz Museum, it looked like a lot of what they were doing is looking at their current materials and saying, how do we show this to the community in a new way? So anyone who has an exhibit that has something to do with what you're doing potentially, or artwork, is a jumping off place to how to really use that by partnering. Okay, if you have more, we have time at the end. We have scheduled this to 2:15 in case people would like to have this. Leslie has raised her hand. Do you want? Oops, maybe she's unraising her hand. Leslie, do you want to ask or talk? Or it's Judy. Are these volunteers for more? Or?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I actually didn't mean to raise my hand. I meant to put something in Q&A to Eileen. We could always, if you want examples of collaboration, speak about our current growing program. It's fairly new, called Breaking Barriers, in which we work with the veteran population in the area and currently partner with the Veteran Hospital, Haley Veteran Hospital, and the VA Success on USF campus. So we can certainly talk about that. And we're looking at a couple new collaborators that are very interested and extremely different from the arts. And we do an exhibition. That exhibition travels to the VA from the museum, USF Contemporary Art Museum, to the VA and beyond. And then it becomes part of a national initiative through the Veterans Hospital.
Cool. Okay. So there's a lot more going on in terms of what's happening already in the community.
Right.
Yeah.
And, we always look for more collaborators to expand the program and give more accessibility, actually.
Okay. So Leslie, is that an invitation for people to reach out to you?
Absolutely. I was
Okay.
going to put it in QA, but
Yeah, they can't see it. So
Sorry.
go ahead and you can
so
say.
I'm so
how
sorry
they
about
reach
that. But
you.
yes, we would love that.
Okay. So how do they reach you, Leslie?
In the Q&A, I guess, or at my email, lelsasse@usf.edu. I am the education curator at the Contemporary Art Museum, and I believe my colleagues are here on the call with me as well.
That's great. And certainly I think what Leslie's saying is sometimes having a coffee date with somebody saying, could we do something together? What would it be? Is the beginning of what could be really interesting.
That's how this all started a couple of years ago. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you. So
Like
yes.
Sorry, it looks like we have a couple other raised hands. Sharon and Judy, do you want me to allow them to talk for a second, Karen?
Sure.
Okay. Judy and Sharon, you should be able to speak now if you'd like to. So I noticed your hands were raised.
And Leslie says that
I would like to speak. I'm Judy. Hi.
Judy.
Hi. I'm treasurer of a small organization that has existed for 49 years. And they do an annual art exhibit. It's called Sunday in the Arts. The name of the organization is Las Damas de Arte. And we've noticed over the past 3 years that our attendees has been dwindling. And of course, last year we couldn't have the exhibit at all because of COVID. And this year we have it planned for Sunday, May 16th. We're hoping that it will come off. I personally think, as the treasurer, that one of the barriers to entry is that there's a $50 ticket price to come and see an art exhibit because it's our annual major fundraiser for the year. And we have been giving anywhere between $16,000 and $30,000 a year to various charities like Stepping Stones, Quest, Moffitt's arts program, and 50% also goes to HCC, University of Tampa, and USF Art Department scholarships.
Okay, so Judy, I'm going to interrupt. What's your question? Do you have a question, or what are you just sharing?
I'm looking for ideas on how to get over the obstacle of the $50 ticket, or ideas to partner with people that would be willing to sponsor so that we could lower or do away with the ticket price. One idea I came up with on my own is because it's an experience that I have at another art festival that I attend every year, is that the ticket price should be a credit toward anything that you buy at the show.
So let's let the group answer that, Judy. Let's say, anyone have any ideas how they can do with that? Anyone to partner with on that? So you got them started with
I didn't mean, I wanted to give a little background so that you would know we've been around a while.
That's great. And I'm glad because it helps people answer the question. And I'm just watching the time and we're running into 2 o'clock rapidly. So if anyone has any thoughts. I'm going to let people answer that. I'm going to move and we can come back to it after the 2 o'clock. Judy, if you want to hang in there and people continue to please answer. If you have ideas for Judy, that would be great. To narrow back to the Arts Council, if you're looking to apply for a grant, you have this whole list of partners and hopefully you have thought of more partners today that you're working with. Who would you include in that? Usually you have a very small amount of space to answer a question like this. So I would recommend you choose 3 to 5 people, and then that the ones that you would choose would have the most relevance or interest to the funder. What is the funder trying to do? So if you were writing to the Arts Council, I would talk about which ones increase accessibility and which ones were successful and how you think you can reach new people. So to write that answer, you would describe who it is who you're working with. I'm working with the Arts Council. And when I do, what I learn is about what everybody else is doing in the community. And this will help me sell more tickets or whatever you want to write. So you're describing who it is, what the benefits are, both financially, if possible, and then socially. So my example is working with X group, reduces our marketing costs and reaches 70 young families, young women and their families. And how do you say that? Mama, right? I'm doing it right. Yeah. Thank you. So the idea is that you go ahead and list those, but because you have many you can include, you choose the ones that are matching what the funder is interested in. Not just like how to do that grant question if you've never approached it before. Best practices for partnership, recognize that forming good partnership is skill-based. More is less. You want quality partnerships more than many. We gave Jim a whole list of people to work with. Some of those would be really fruitful. That's where you would focus. You might try everybody and send a generic letter out, but you might have 3 or 4, Jim, that are really, really helpful and that you would write personal letters to or call up on the phone and have the conversation. And also in any partnership, it's a good idea to have an exit strategy. I've seen the mistake made where nonprofits will say, this is the first annual forever project we're going to do. And it puts a lot of pressure on that partnership. And some partnerships are meant to sunset, and that's okay. Some things you will try and move on. So it's always good to have that up front. Let's try this for a year and then analyze what we have. Either we'll continue or we'll learn what we've learned and move on to new partners. So finally, there is some resources and handouts. Eileen, can you paste that? There's 4 or 5 articles about partnerships, about first steps for a partnership, how to evaluate and start a partnership, and then how to deal with difficult partnerships. I'm sure you'll never have any. I have. And then also something I'm personally passionate about. Many of us come to these events, we get excited, we get thrilled, and then we forget about it in 2 days. How can you not do that? So that first article is about that. That should be in the chat box, or I don't know, you put in the Q&A. People download it there, or we'll send it to you. We'll find a way to get it to you.
I will send out an email with the recording and with this resource list to make sure that everyone receives both of those items, since I'm not sure if you can see my chat or not.
Yeah, and Leslie, we'll put your stuff in there for them to contact you. Or anyone else who wants that, let us know too. We can put your name if you're contact or have a resource. That would be great if you want to email Eileen and say, hey, I've got this resource to share with the group. So having been in this conversation, what's one action you will take in the next 48 hours to get started? That's a question and answer box. Lorenzen, N.A. Lorenzen will be speaking with our executive director this afternoon. Great. Brainstorm with the partners. Thank you, Nora. tell the board on Friday what I learned and ask them to be part of a partnering in the community. Brainstorm with them. You can use the same exercise, same thing. Read through the handouts, make a list of all people I have partnered with, but did not realize now how powerful these partnerships are. And they're also often worth a lot of money to you, even though you haven't necessarily thought about it that way. Saving marketing costs, getting the word out. Reached out to Stageworks, Tampa Players, and Carrollwood Cultural Center. Jim, I've already emailed message 2 of our organizations. So your work's done for the 48 hours. Research some of the groups we've listed here. That's great. Thank you so very much for being with us. We're going to stay on the call in case anyone has any questions or more questions and would like to have the conversation about what they could partner. I'm Lean. Martine, do you want to say anything at the end?
Well, thank you, Karen. This once we got the technology issues under control, we never really got them under control, but it was a wonderful session in spite of that, and we did get some good feedback and some ideas, and it's always just really inspiring to start thinking outside the box about anything, and especially with partnerships. So we appreciate your assisting us with this.
Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon. And it was great. I love the ideas and I look forward to the outcomes.
Yeah, great session today, everyone. I'm sorry about the chat, but I'll be in touch with the handouts.
So the session is officially over, but if anybody has additional questions for Karen, we've got some more time on the Zoom session, so let us know. Are you seeing any questions, Eileen?
I am not. I'm seeing a lot of thank yous. Thanks, guys. Somebody is asking if we have the contacts for some of the folks in the session. We do. Nora is wondering if she can ask a general grant question, which I think would be for you, Martine. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess we'll need the actual question, Nora. And somebody else is asking, do you have any ideas on where to share my documentary? I don't know if anybody else wants to drop ideas into the chat on that.
Well, I got an email from Louise. So Louise, I will reach out to you about that and see what we can come up with, unless anybody else has ideas about sharing a documentary. And Nora, on your grant question, it might be better if I reach out to you when we're over today and answer that question, since it's probably very specific to your organization, if that's okay.
Yeah, Nora, we'll get in touch. If anybody else has any questions for Karen. At this point, I think we'll just wrap it up. And if you have anything additional, just let us know and we will get in touch. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.